Good morning. It's a new day in America. Let it be known, the Nnpa and Black Press of America is bringing you historic coverage today of the inauguration of President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. We are expecting a huge day. From now through the end of the day, 5 o'clock, we will be here. We have special guests. We have a number of our distinguished publishers from across the country that will be joining us. We also have coming up in the 8 o'clock hour, the chairwoman of the National Newspaper Publishers Association, Karen Carter Richards, who also is the publisher of the Houston Forward Times. Joining us in any moment now will be our president and CEO, Dr. Benjamin Chavis. So we have such a historic day. The last time the Nnpa undertook such a undertaking, if you will, was election night, when we brought you historic coverage that included many dozens of our publishers from around the nation and different journalists who work for the Black press. So today, Donald Trump is moving out of the White House. Many are celebrating that, but it's a different type of move out. Generally, outgoing presidents greet and leave messages for the incoming president, and they usually exchange the obligatory handshakes, hugs between the first ladies. None of that this time. January 6th is on the mind still of everyone, when insurrectionists at the direction of the outgoing president stormed the Capitol. A mob rioted, leading to at least 6 deaths, 2 police officers, and others, including their own supporters. But it's a new day. President-elect Biden has promised that he is going to lead healing in the United States. World leaders are looking toward Joe Biden and Kamala Harris to bring back normal to the United States, so that America can reclaim its role as the leader and on the global scene. So we begin with this message from Kamala Harris that she had given previously to the Black Press of America.
It's Kamala Harris, and I am so happy to celebrate with all of the leaders the 193rd anniversary of the Black Press of America and the 80th anniversary of Nnpa. I want to thank Nnpa's president and CEO, Dr. Benjamin Chavis, and the national chair, Karen Carter Richards, for your longstanding leadership and for being a voice for and of our community. For 193 years, our country's Black publications have reported on politics, entertainment, and social issues from the perspective of Black Americans. You have been here throughout the defining moments of our history, from Jim Crow to the Civil Rights Movement to the movement that we are currently a part of and witnessing. You have been here and featured the bylines of Richard Wright, Zora Neale Hurston, and W.E.B. Du Bois in times when mainstream outlets would not. Black publications continue to play an important and a critical role in speaking truth and telling the stories in a way that not only keep us informed, but make sure that everyone understands the perspective, the experience, and the history and the present of our country. So Black publications continue to play an important and critical role in telling stories, reminding people of the past, and also letting them see what can be unburdened by what has been. I want to thank you all, everyone, for your leadership, for your voice, and all that you do. Thank you.
And thank you, Vice President Kamala Harris, for all your support. Vice President Harris, one of the success stories, the many success stories from the Congressional Black Caucus. She has been a proud member standing with the Black Caucus since 2017. And in 2018, Vice President Kamala Harris, then Senator Harris, received a Newsmaker of the Year award from the National Newspaper Publishers Association and greeted all of our publishers with a fantastic reception, a fantastic speech that she gave, reiterating what she has always said and what you just heard her say there about the importance of the Black Press of America and the National Newspaper Publishers Association. Later, we are also going to hear from President-elect Joe Biden. We're also going to bring you live the inauguration of Vice President Kamala Harris and President Joe Biden. Outgoing President Donald Trump is expected to fully move out of the White House within the next 2 hours ahead of the inauguration. So many, over 80 million people at least, right, who voted for Joe Biden is looking forward to that moment. Now, just to give you a little history of how today is really different from other inaugurations. Only 3 other inaugurations compare. 1861, several southern states succeeded after Abraham Lincoln's election. And as the New York Times put it, there was descriptions of fear that armed bands would try to thwart the inauguration. Doesn't that sound familiar? A plot to kill Lincoln forced him to sneak into Washington in the early morning. On Inauguration Day, cavalry members flanked by Lincoln's procession soldiers blocked streets. Again, sounds very familiar. 25,000, at least 25,000 National Guard troops right now are on the streets of Washington, D.C. There were roof-mounted snipers that had their eye on the crowd that gathered. The first sentence on the front page of the next day's New York Times said, "The day to which all have looked with so much anxiety and interest has come and passed. Abraham Lincoln has been inaugurated and all is well." And that's the ending that everyone is looking forward to today, the 1861 inauguration of Abraham Lincoln. And then there was 1865. Washington was a grim wartime city for Lincoln's second inauguration, having endured waves of smallpox and torrential recent rains. Now, the waves of smallpox, again, sounds familiar, right? What are we dealing with? COVID-19. The crowd that day, according to the New York Times, stood in mud almost knee deep. Lincoln rode in an open carriage with a military escort of both Black and white troops. A New York Times account by the poet Walt Whitman said that as the president spoke, a curious little white cloud, the only one in that part of the sky, appeared like a hovering bird right over him. The actor, John Wilkes Booth, soon to become Lincoln's assassin, was in the crowd that day. Let's hope nobody has that idea today, right? And finally, in 1945, another inauguration that is similar to today. Security concerns and wartime austerity turned Franklin Roosevelt's 4th inauguration into the simplest inauguration on record with the smallest ever crowd. The public portions of the event lasted just 15 minutes, partly because President Roosevelt was sick. He trembled as he stood on the south side of the White House to deliver a brief address. Less than 3 months later, he would die of a brain hemorrhage. By the end of that summer, the U.S. had won the wars in both Europe and Asia. So a lot of precedent, unwanted precedent, right? So we are on the cuffs of history again, but this time we're hopeful that we will have none of what we saw in those 3 inaugurations that we just mentioned. And again, we are still waiting for our president and CEO, Dr. Ben Chavis. He should be joining us momentarily. In fact, here is our president and CEO, Dr. Ben Chavis. Dr. Chavis, after you take yourself off mute, you can tell us how you're doing today.
I'm doing fine. Good morning, Stacy, and on behalf of the National Newspaper Publishers Association, thank you. This is another day that the Lord has made. This is Inauguration Day 2021, and we are all excited to witness the inauguration of Joe Biden as President of the United States, the inauguration of Kamala Harris as Vice President of the United States. And we're going to be all day live broadcasting here on blackpressusa.com, the Nnpa. And Stacey, thank you. Let it be known, breaking news this morning. I thought that message from who will be today Vice President Kamala Harris to start off the show was so on time and on point. Thank you so much.
Well, and we will also be hearing from an interview you did, Dr. Chavis, with the soon-to-be President Joe Biden, a historic interview that took place in Charleston, South Carolina last year. So we're looking forward to that. Many in our audience have not seen that interview. It was very telling. Joe Biden expressed his long-standing affection for the Black press and, most importantly, for Black America.
Absolutely. We have witnessed a transition of power. Everybody wished it could have been under different environmental circumstances and in different political circumstances. But the Constitution has prevailed. Decency is prevailing, is going to prevail, and there will be a transition of power. And everybody's looking forward to the new Biden-Harris administration. And of course, the Black press, we're not only going to witness this historic day, we're going to be involved in it from the beginning to the end. So I want everybody to fasten their seatbelts. We're going to be here all day with you.
Yeah, and feel free to send the coffee.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And Dr. Chavis, we are also looking forward to, at the top of the hour, our chairman from the Houston Forward Times, Karen Carter Richards, is going to join us. It's going to be, like you said, it's going to be an action-packed day, a very great news day, really, and certainly a big change on the American scene that even world leaders, Dr. Chavis, have expressed their hope now, their relief that the election, that whole process is over with. They are relieved that now that President Biden will be able to return America to its lofty standing in the world. Certainly take, as Nancy Pelosi, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi stated early this morning already, take the stain, she said, off of America.
Yes, absolutely. And of course, we're going to see all of the members of Congress, the leaders of members of Congress at the inauguration, Speaker Pelosi, as well as other leading members of the Congress of the United States. All the Congressional Black Caucus will be there, some 59 members. We're very pleased that the Honorable Cedric will also be the highest ranking Black in the White House as special senior advisor to the President of the United States and director of public liaison, Cedric Richmond. We're very pleased that he's going to be there. It's just going to be a different day, and we're going to be covering it all. And Stacey, I want to just thank all of our producers, Enchanter, Jackson, and Norman Rich, for helping us to put this show. It's going to be a long day, and we thank everybody for taking time, and you, Stacey, for hosting this day-long news program. And of course, Karen Carter Richards, our illustrious chair of the Nnpa, will be with us in a few minutes also this morning. And we have a lot of publishers, who are going to be with us throughout the day. And I heard from Danny Bakewell late last night, who's chairman emeritus of the Nnpa, the publisher of the Los Angeles Sentinel, and a close friend of Vice President Kamala Harris will also be with us later this afternoon. So we've got a power-packed program today, and we're ready to go forward.
Yeah, and one name I'm sure that you didn't want to overlook in thanking is our executive administrator of the Nnpa, Claudette Perry, who really, you talk about in the trenches. She's always deep in the trenches. Talk about a warrior. So
Absolutely. We have a great team, Claudette and all the staff, Claudette Perry and all the staff at the Nnpa. You know, we worked through the pandemic all through 2020, and we're starting 2021 stronger than we were even a year ago. So, you know, when times get tough, the Black press gets stronger. We don't get weaker. And today is a day that we intend to give you all of the various analyses of this historic day from an African American perspective and also from a global perspective. Literally, billions of people throughout the world, not millions, billions, are watching, listening on this historic day to see America go forward from a long 4-year nightmare.
And want to say good morning to Don Wagner, and of course, one of our great publishers, Bobby Henry, down at the West Side Gazette in Florida. Also today, Dr. Chavis at the inauguration, 22-year-old Amanda Gorman, who was born in Los Angeles and studied sociology at Harvard University, will be the youngest poet to perform at a presidential inauguration. The young African-American queen will perform alongside Lady Gaga, who will sing the national anthem, and Jennifer Lopez. The young poet will deliver the Hill We Climb, which reports suggest that will include lines about the January 6th insurrection at the Capitol. Part of that poem that she will read, The Hill We Climb, reads, "We've seen a force that would shatter our nation rather than share it, would destroy our country if it meant delaying democracy. And this effort very nearly succeeded. But while democracy can be periodically delayed, it can never be permanently defeated." So you're going to hear a lot more from her. In 2017, young Amanda Gorman, read the inauguration of the 22nd U.S. Poet Laureate, Tracy K. Smith. She also performed for Al Gore, Hillary Clinton, and Lin-Manuel Miranda. And we all know him, Lin, from the Hamilton play. So a lot there. There's going to be the pastor that's given the invocation is an African American from AME and from an AME church in Wilmington, Delaware. So Joe Biden, you talk about Dr. Chavis, the diversity. It even extends to participation in presidential events.
Absolutely. We're going to have the most diverse administration in American history in terms of racial diversity, gender diversity, sexual orientation diversity, age diversity. You know, President Biden is setting the tone on the first day, not only how the administration looks, but how the administration performs. And in the inauguration today, as you mentioned, from the poet to the invocation, to the diversity of people who are involved in the inauguration, is also Supreme Court Justice Sotomayor, the first Latino on Supreme Court woman, will give the oath of office to Vice President Harris. So throughout the day, you're going to see the kind of diversity, not so much of America's past, but of America's future. We're witnessing the future of tomorrow.
And today, too, President Joe Biden plans to get right to work. He is going to take 17 executive actions today alone in the first hours of his presidency. He's, according to CNN, is going to sign a flurry of executive orders, memorandums, and directives to agencies implementing his first moves to address the coronavirus pandemic and undo some of Donald Trump's signature policies. The first day will include imposing a mask mandate on federal property and installing a coronavirus response coordinator to oversee the White House's efforts to distribute vaccines and medical supplies. He also plans to rejoin the Paris Climate Accord and stop the U.S.'s departure from the World Health Organization. In fact, he said that Dr. Anthony Fauci will lead the U.S. delegation there. And also, he's going to end Trump's immigration crackdowns and end the ban on travel from some Muslim majority countries. and he's going to stop the nonsense about funding a border wall. So it's a whole lot.
It is a whole lot. And again, it's indicative of Joe Biden, President Biden, keeping his promise. You remember when he ran for president, he promised that on the first 100 days and on the first day of the 100 days, he was going to take considerable actions to move the federal government away from the politics of voter suppression, away from the politics of immigration suppression, away from the politics of racial division, away from the politics of putting people down and not focusing on the least of these in our society. You know, we're starting out this morning. They're on the way to church. The Bidens and his top administration officials, as well as members of Congress, are all going to be at a Roman Catholic Church here in Washington, actually heading there now to begin his day off of Mass. He's a religious person. He's only the second Catholic, Roman Catholic, to be president of the United States. So you can rest assured that President Biden is guided not only by his political philosophy, but is also guided by his faith in God. And also, I'll give a shout out also to Bobby Henry and to all the people there at the West Side Gazette in Florida. I know he's holding down us in the case for the Black press in South Florida, and we welcome him. I'm glad he's watching this morning and continuing to spread the truth, speak truth to power in that part of the state.
Bobby Henry watches every morning. We appreciate Bobby very much, not only a part of the Black press, but a champion of the Black press. And he writes in just now, Dr. Chavis, he says, "We are like a tree planted by the water with roots spreading everywhere. We're not fear when heat comes. Our offsprings are always ready. We have no worries in a year of drought and never fails to bear fruit." Bobby, as always, very, very poetic himself in his word. And so we also going to hear today from Jackie Hampton, the publisher of the Mississippi Link, Larry Lee out in Sacramento, the Observer. We're going to hear from Jim Washington of the Atlanta Voice and the Dallas Weekly. And we also, as you mentioned, are going to hear from Danny Bakewell, Sr. of the Los Angeles Sentinel, and as you well noted, the Chairman Emeritus of the Nnpa. So much more. We also are going to, again, bring our viewers the inauguration, the election. I'm glad that's over. We're going to bring them the inauguration directly from the Biden administration's feed, which they have granted us permission to do so. And so we are looking forward to that. We're going to discuss it. Denise Rolock Barnes of the Washington Informer is going to attend the inauguration, and we expect to hear from her directly from the U.S. Capitol.
Yes, very good. We're going to be covering all day, and also got a text from Al McFarland, the distinguished publisher of Insight News in Minneapolis. He will also be with us. Al is also a broadcaster regular there in the Minneapolis area, in addition to being publisher of the Insight News. So we're going to be covering the inauguration today from the East Coast to the West Coast, from the Midwest to the Southwest to the Southeast, to the central part of the country, and right here in Washington, D.C. I'm actually broadcasting live from Pennsylvania Avenue. I'm looking out the window and I see all the National Guards, all of everybody's standing at attention as their movement now to and from the Roman Catholic Church, where Mass is being held this morning to start off officially the inauguration day. And so this is going to be a history-making day, Stacy. It's also going to be a change day, a day of change. I tell people all the time, be careful what you pray for, because God will answer your prayers. So the prayers of millions of people here in the United States, not only voters, the 80 million people who voted for Biden and Harris, but for millions of others, lives are going to be changed for the better as a result of this day.
Well, Dr. Chavis, as privilege and a pleasure now to bring on our chair, the Houston Florida Times publisher, Karen Carter Richards. Good morning, Chair Karen Carter Richards. When you come off mute, we'd like to hear your voice.
Good morning. Good morning. So pleased to have you.
Good morning. I'm so excited this morning, and I had just gotten engulfed in what Dr. Chavis was saying because it's a very exciting day for us.
Yes,
very exciting.
Yes. Well, things are how things there in Houston. Your office looks immaculate. Your office looks like the White House.
Yeah, I was going to ask you.
I'm trying to bring the camera down, but that's up above my pay grade.
I was going to ask
you looking good.
Situation room.
Huh?
I was going to ask, were you in the Situation Room? Looks like the West Wing of the White House there.
Thank you, Stacy. Man, we are so excited here in Houston. We're doing our own thing here at the paper. We had some of our business leaders and women that came in yesterday and did their own personal tributes to Vice President Kamala Harris and President Joe Biden. And man, we are just having a good time. We're all adorned in our pearls and Chuck Taylors, and so we're excited.
Great. Well, Chair Karen Carter Richards, the leadership that you've provided over this last 2 years has been just so great. We've made tremendous progress. I was commenting earlier that, yes, these are tough times with the coronavirus and all of the white supremacy stuff going on. But, the Black press is not only resilient, but we're making progress. And
right.
I just want on behalf of all of our 230 African-American owned newspapers to thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your vigilance. And thank you for all the great work that you continue to do there in Houston. Now, this year is your 60th anniversary.
Oh, 2020 kind of took over the 60th. And now, January 30th of this year, we'll be celebrating 61 years.
61 years. Oh, that's great. Congratulations. Congratulations. And we know that 2020 was a year of progress for the Black press. And I just want to pledge to you, we're going to make more progress in 2021. This is a great way to start the new year off, to witness history, to participate in history, and to report the news, but also to be continuing advocates for freedom, justice, and equality. And I just want to say, Chair, because a lot of our listeners may not know, that our whole executive committee of Black women. And we thank you. So the Black press, had a foretaste of what was going to take place in 2020. Because if it wasn't for Black women, we would not have Joe Biden as president. We would not have Kamala Harris as vice president. We would not have change in Georgia going blue of all places. So just thank you for your leadership and for all the sisters, publishers, as well as brother publishers. We work together as a team. And I just wanted to highlight the fact that you're not just a ceremonial chair of the Nnpa, but you're hands-on. And we're looking forward to having our Midwinter Conference the end of this month, January 27th through the 29th, where we're going to focus on how to generate more revenue for our publishers and advertisers. But today, we're focusing on the inauguration.
Well, let me just say, too, thank you to the Nnpa staff, crew. I mean, you guys have done a phenomenal job. My mother taught me a long time ago, when you trust and you put people in positions, let them do what they do. And when that happens, everything just works out. And we've had a challenging year, but a great year. Some new things that we've had to do. Some of us had already started, but it kind of put us on the fast track, which is a good thing. But you guys are doing a great job. I'm looking forward to seeing all my fellow publishers today. So I'm just really want to tune in.
Absolutely.
Well, we know that
we're so pleased of your. You have several congressmen from Florida, but particularly Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee and Congressman Al Green. They're frequent participants in our news programs and our video cast. And so I think that the forecast is good. I mean, the truth of the matter is, Sister Karen, we need a moment of celebration. I'm telling you, this has been trying, tough. But, as I said earlier, God answers prayers. And this is a day that we can truly say that we are blessed, that God has not only heard our prayers, but answered our prayers. And now we have to keep our sleeves rolled up and do the work. Sometimes when you get a blessing, it's what you do with the blessing.
Right.
We want to share the blessings with all of our readers, all of our supporters, all of our sponsors, all of our advertisers, that support the Black press. And we're looking forward to having the kind of engagement with the Biden-Harris administration that simply we have not had in 4 years.
But Dr. Davis, apologies for interrupting. You were speaking yesterday about our meeting with President-elect Joe Biden, and
yes.
when we went to South Carolina, and it was something about that meeting. I always try to go to something with an open mind and just listen. Yes. And it was something about that meeting that was different. I looked at his empathy for what we were dealing with. I looked at how the people in that city responded to him, which was unbelievable. And it wasn't just the normal, hey, yay, we know him. It was deeper than that. It was you could just tell it was real. And yes. his statements that he made to the Black press, some of them we've heard, some of those statements we've heard before, but it was just something different about that meeting. And so Absolutely. We've already seen now that he's doing exactly what he said he was going to do.
Well, Absolutely. Let me say this before Karen Carter Richards and Dr. Chavis, what you're just saying, for those who may not have heard those comments, here they are right now. Let's play it.
Okay.
Thanks for having me. Well, thank you. We're live from Charleston, South Carolina, with Vice President Joe Biden. Welcome to the Black Press of America. Delight to be with you. I'm going to just briefly introduce everybody in the order that they're seated. Fran Farrar, who is the publisher in Charlotte, North Carolina of the County News. Brenda Andrews, who's the publisher of the New Journal and Guide in Norfolk, Virginia. She's also our national treasurer. And Fran is our second vice chair. Karen Carter Richards, she's the chair. You know, we got a lot of women in charge.
Well, that's why it's working.
Absolutely, that's why it's working. Karen Carter Richards is the publisher of the Houston Forward Times and chair of the
newspaper too.
Next is Bobby Henry, representing the state of Florida. He's from Fort Lauderdale, the distinguished publisher of the West Side Gazette. Janice Ware is from Atlanta, the publisher of the Atlanta Voice, and also our first vice chair. Jackie Hampton from Mississippi, from Jackson, Mississippi, the publisher of the Mississippi Link, and she's our national secretary. Calvin Anderson, we have 5 regions. He's the regional president of Region 2. We're in Region 2. He's from Memphis, Tennessee, the publisher of the New Tri-State Defender. Here in South Carolina, Larry Smith, the publisher of the Community Times in Florence, South Carolina, and Brother Talbot Smalls, representing the Charleston Chronicle. And this is Stacey Brown, our award-winning reporter, who's recording what you're going to say to us. So listen, now I'm going to get right to it because I know you're on a tight time schedule. But
no, I have time for you.
The first question is not a hard question, but I want to hear from you. And I know in the debate sometimes you don't get a chance to give full answers to the questions. You're going to have a chance at no time.
Debates are about 60-second assertions.
Right. But this is the Black Press. Yeah. Representing the voice of Black America. Tell us how important the Black vote is in 2020.
It's going to determine who the next president is. It's not hyperbole. It really is. I come from a background where the Black community, most of you don't know much about my state, I don't think. We have the 8th largest Black population in America, 19.8% of our state. We have a lot in common, unfortunately, with South Carolina in the sense that we were part of Brown versus Board of Education. It was the Delaware case that came up. I got started in the African-American community. I never thought I was going to run for public office. I got involved in the civil rights movement as a kid, desegregating movie theaters, that kind of thing. No great shakes. I'm not making myself out to be some big deal. And then I was the only guy who worked in the projects in the East Side who was white. They hired mostly athletes at the time. Believe it or not, I used to be a pretty good athlete. So that's how I got started. And the Black community is the community that had, as they say in parts of my state, that brung me to the dance. That's how I got elected. And even in the off years, when we'd run I'd get the same percentage in the off years, not a non-presidential year. The Black community come out in the same percentage it did in the presidential year. So it's been the heart and soul of why I got involved to begin with. And now it's going to be the determining factor, I think, in who the Democratic nominee is going to be. And I hope that means who the next president's going to be. And so I just, you know, and the black press, look, the way I was raised, and not raised, the way I did my politics was you go where people are. You go where they listen. You walk in a black barbershop, beauty salon, your newspapers are there. You walk in and you listen to the radio, and you listen to gospel radio where I come from. I mean, for real. This is not, you know, it's who we are, the neighborhoods you come from. And so I think it's incredibly important. I think you all are incredibly important. I just wish I had $62 billion to be able to invest more in, you know, in black newspapers. But, you know, it's the only, I've never invested in, I've never had the money, but any ads I've ever purchased, they've only been in black newspapers, because it's the single best way for me to get access to people knowing what I really mean, what I really say, and making myself available whenever to the black press.
All right, well, thank you. Well, we're going to.
And there was the words of now President Joe Biden just a few months ago in Charleston, South Carolina, to the black press. So our chair, Karen Carter Richards, and our president, Dr. Chavis, obviously you were there. And Karen Carter Richards, you were just speaking about how you listened to his words and how it just felt different. Can you further elaborate on that?
That video just took me back. It was just like, you have to, you know, some people can just talk the talk and say what sounds good, but the things that he said to us, you have to really be around our people to know those things. And it was just it was different. It was just a different feeling. And we see that. And I'm just excited about the transfer of power, and it's just wonderful. It's just wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. Dr. Chavis, your reflection on that interview?
Yeah, I join with Chair Karen Carter Richards. I would say it in one word: it was authentic.
Yes.
When Joe Biden spoke to the black press in Charleston, South Carolina, he was speaking not only from his head, but also from his heart, his soul. And you recall, Karen, that when I asked him about health care for black people in the black community, because we were in the early days of the pandemic, little tears came up in his eyes, because he reflected on his own personal tragedies and journey with healthcare and hospitalizations and things he's had to overcome in his own life, in his own family. And so there's a sense of resilience. And whenever somebody talks to the black press from an authentic, resilient way, there's not only empathy, but we related to one another. Let me put it that way. Exactly. And I thought it was a great basis. And then, of course, it was historic. That was the day before the South Carolina primary. Yes. You know, he was down in the polls until he met with the black press and won the South Carolina primary. And now he's going to be president of the United States of America, and Kamala Harris is going to be vice president of the United States of America. Truly historic. And that shows you, last year we were on the point. We were at the right place at the right time with the right man.
Right. And you know what, we don't want to miss that point he made. He said, when I want to reach black America, I go to the black newspapers.
That's correct.
Because we've been doing it a long time, and we speak truth to power, and all over the nation. So I was excited to hear him say that, because that is who we are.
Exactly.
Good morning, Pamela Henry. She says good morning to all. It's always good to have Pamela Henry. As excited as the black press is, and I'll take another, before I segue, Chair Karen Carter Richards and Dr. Chavis, I'll take another note. He said he wished he had $60 billion to spend with them.
That's what we can do about that.
Right. Well, he has an opportunity now, because the federal government is the largest advertiser. So if President Biden and Vice President Harris encourage all their cabinet members, all those federal departments, to advertise with the black press, will be in the billions of dollars. And of course, we thank Congresswoman Ella Holmes Norton for introducing that legislation that mandates that a certain percentage go to black-owned businesses, specifically highlighting the black press. So look, I'm while financially 2020 was a great year for the black press in spite of the pandemic, this is going to even a better year. I think I couldn't think of a better way to start off 2021 than to have this inauguration and have this forward leaning by the new president and vice president of the United States.
Awesome. And I'm right there with you. I'm claiming that. So Black Press, get ready. If you think 2020 was something, we got something for you. So again, thank you so much, Stacey, for all the work that you do.
Well, we also did a story last month on Black Press USA and the Nnpa Newswire, quoting the Biden team as saying that the president is definitely going to carry out that legislation by Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton, that he fully supports it and fully supports the Black press. So it sounds like they are definitely going to put their money where their mouth is. And remember, Vice President Kamala Harris was a member of the Congressional Black Caucus, and they have been champions of the Black press as well. And as excited as you guys sound and the Black press might be, so are people on the street. Let's take a look at a couple of folks and what they had to say last night about the inauguration.
Okay.
Well, what is your hope, Thompson?
Yeah, we deal and we lead with hope. That's what we do as people who call ourselves Christian. And Eleanor Holmes Norton, our wonderful Congresswoman, says that anything and everything is possible if you just have hope. And so this is a time for a fresh start. Or as Eddie Glaude says, we can begin again.
Well, despite what President Trump has done, his greatest efforts at marginalizing and minimizing organizations like the Body of Christ, we move forward in spite of him. Trump has developed a cult following. We're not a part of that. Unfortunately, there are people who identify themselves as the Christian community who are doing whatever bidding he calls for. But we can't be troubled by that, because we have a faith, we have a commitment, and it's not based on anything that's false, coming from a false source like Trump. And we're not kidding ourselves. We're not going to turn Biden into some messiah, but at the same time, we know that there's promise for the future when you have a sincere person at the head.
Well, and we want to thank Hamo Harris of the Washington Informer, another member of the Black Press, for that video. And just to correct something, that was actually taken on Monday. It was a day of service in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And you heard some of the voices, and we'll hear more voices later on in the program. But again, you see the excitement, Chair Karen Carter-Richards and Dr. Chavis.
Yes, and it was good to hear. We know Hamo Harris. He's a friend of the Black press. He writes both, sometimes for the Washington Post and sometimes for our local newspaper. So it's good to hear that. Well, on the street, not only here in D.C., but where Karen Carter-Richards is there in Houston, and where our publishers are across America, there is excitement. I'm glad you made reference that we will see all of the officials, government officials, at the inauguration. But at the same time, I guarantee you that a lot of our millions of African Americans and others are glued to their television sets, are glued to their laptops or the internet devices, their cell phones, witnessing this transition of power, witnessing the transition of administrations, and in a sense, helping to provide greater hope and opportunity. So many people have been injured by the coronavirus, Stacey, and Chair Karen Carter-Richards. All of us know people, families who have succumbed to the coronavirus. So while we celebrate today the inauguration, it's in the context of a deadly pandemic. And we want everybody to keep wearing those masks, keep washing your hands, keep social distancing. Over 400,000 people have passed away, and they're expecting just in the next 30 days another 100,000. So sometime in late February, there'll be over 500,000 people will have passed from the coronavirus. So there's a sense of awareness of the dangers of the absence of health care. And hopefully another thing that President Biden and Vice President Harris have committed to is to be more aggressive to get everybody vaccinated, get everybody protected from this virus. So on the one hand, there is celebration in the streets, Stacey, but it's in the context of not only the political white supremacist violence that happened on January the 6th, but also the context, the broader context, we're still in this deadly virus. And again, I'm so pleased that the Nnpa had the coronavirus task force that's still alive. And shout out to Dr. Ebony Hilton and to Dr. Regina Benjamin and all the ones that have worked with physicians on the Nnpa coronavirus task force. So I'm very excited and enjoying everybody, but I just want to remind everybody, even from a community perspective, that a lot of people in our communities are suffering still from the coronavirus.
Right.
Yeah, and let it be known, some breaking news right now. Donald Trump is exiting the White House as we speak.
Yes.
Marine One has landed on the South Lawn, I believe it is, of the White House, and is about to take Donald Trump and the First Lady to Andrews Air Force Base, where he will fly to Florida and he will reside at his Mar-a-Lago estate. So Donald Trump is currently leaving the White House, and the helicopter, as Claudette Perry, our executive administrator, says, that helicopter is raring to go, and she put an exclamation point on that. So as we always promise, some breaking news. There is a first bit of breaking news this morning. Donald Trump. In a couple of hours, we don't have to say President Donald Trump anymore, do we?
That's correct. You know, we're talking about President Joe Biden and Vice President Harris, Kamala Harris. Those are the orders of this day.
Right.
Yeah. And David Youngblood, who will join us in the 9 o'clock hour, is also with an exclamation point. Goodbye. You know, the President Trump is leaving office with the lowest approval rating in history. 29%, I think it was at the time that we went live this morning. It could drop even more in the next couple of hours. Who knows? But 29%. That's saying a whole lot, considering you had Richard Nixon. You had others, right? That America really struggled with under their leadership. This is historic in a lot of ways, and not always in a good way, especially if you look at it through the lens of Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, I think that, you know, this would be the first day in 4 years where Donald Trump would not predominate the news media.
Right.
The news media today is going to be focused on the inauguration of Joe Biden as President of the United States and the inauguration of Kamala Harris as Vice President of the United States. That's going to be the predominant news of this day. And I think that we're going to witness a subsiding. Certainly, the media is going to continue to focus on what Trump says and what he doesn't say, what he does and what he doesn't do. But I think now our focus has to be on the new administration. And so while some are bidding their farewells to President Trump, millions more are opening their arms and opening their hearts and their aspirations to welcome in the new Biden-Harris administration. What's the feeling on the street there in Houston?
Everybody's just excited for the change. It's been a long time coming. And we're just excited. We're just excited for the transition back to some normalcy, some decency coming out of the White House, and some empathy.
Yes.
So we're just everybody's just excited and just waiting for today.
Well, let me ask you, Dr. Chavis, and you too, Karen Carter Richards, you can chime in on this as well. When Barack Obama became president for the first time, I mean, there was hope like it was never experienced before. There was so much hope. And a lot of people, when he left office, expressed being let down. Is America getting its hopes up a little too high? Is there a danger to that in this situation?
No, I think we should always have our hopes high. And quite frankly, I think that while some people had their hopes down, the truth of the matter is the Obama administration was phenomenal. It was the first time I had a black man in the White House. We had a recalcitrant Congress. And keep in mind, for 8 years, who was President Obama's vice president? It was Joe Biden. So I think that we have to always put things in context. And I think that the fulfillment of Dr. Martin Luther King's dream that we just celebrated on Monday certainly was manifest with the election of President Barack Obama. And certainly it's the same with President Joe Biden now. And I think it's always important for us to keep our hopes high. And you should always have dreams. And sometimes, even if your dream is not totally fulfilled, you don't lose hope. You keep dreaming. You keep hoping. You keep struggling. You keep working. So I am optimistic on this first day of the Biden-Harris administration. And I think that we all know what happened over the last 4 years. So, nothing but progress can be made because the baseline is so low. You mentioned that about the 29% popularity in the popular polls. Well, that just shows you that what the Biden and Harris administration will do certainly will rise way beyond that kind of public polling. So I'm optimistic, and I think the majority of one of the reasons why, Stacey, you had such a high voter turnout was because people were ready for change. People were voting for change. Remember, prior to November and prior to the Georgia primary, everybody was saying that healthcare is on the ballot, freedom, justice, and equality are on the ballot. Reparations was on the ballot. So people are voting for a new opportunity to push forward to make more progress. So I think that no, I don't think it's people should have guarded hopes. I think people should have high hopes. Right. You should always dream beyond your capacity to fulfill. That's what dreams are all about. That's what hope's all about. That's the definition of hope. The evidence in faith, the evidence of things not seen. We make them real by how we move forward. So I think everybody should keep their hopes high and keep their dreams high.
Yeah, and Claudette Perry says President Obama spoke to a 21st century culture of people. Trump turned back the hands of time. Good riddance to the tyrant. Karen Carter Richards, same question really about whether or not this could all be set up for a letdown.
Not at all. I definitely have hope. We can already see it in motion. I think the last 4 years in the Black press, we already know racism existed. We deal with that daily. But the last 4 years, I like to say right here, the cover is off. The world got a chance to see what we deal with in this country. And now, like we say, we have hope because we can see the change that the Biden-Harris administration is making. So definitely have hope always. And as the Black press, what we do, we stay focused. We stay focused on what it is that we do.
Yeah, and you're right about that. With you and Dr. Chavis and Claudette Perry, we have to stay focused because y'all won't let us.
Definitely.
y'all won't let us.
No distractions.
Close our eyes.
Right. So Stacey, this year, 2021 marks the 194th year of the Black press. Since March of 1827, the Black press. And if you go back and read the front page of Freedom's Journal, that first publication,
yep,
it was during slavery. Mm-hmm. It was during rough times. But Freedom's Journal dared to challenge that, dared to have hope that one day slavery will be outlawed in America. There was no evidence of it when they published the Freedom's Journal. But that's what struggle is all about. Our luta continua, the struggle continues. And certainly for 194 years, I'm so proud of the Black press that we've been vigilant, we've been steadfast. Some of our papers were dynamited, some of our papers were burned down, some of our leaders were assassinated, some of our people were hurt, some of us went to jail, but we're not letting the internet turn us around and break our spirit. Even Donald Trump for 4 years did not break our spirit. Our prayers are being answered on this day, and we're going to keep pushing forward. We have to learn from the past, because what happened on January 6th serves as a reminder that there's some very dangerous, violent tendencies of white supremacy that we all have to pay attention to, but not let those tendencies divert us from the hard work that we got to do.
Right.
Well, today is Inauguration Day. At the west front of the Capitol, everything is scheduled to start at approximately 11 o'clock. There will be about 1,000 socially distanced guests, including former Presidents Barack Obama, George W. Bush, and Bill Clinton. Of course, we see Donald Trump will not attend, and he's the first president to skip the inauguration since Andrew Johnson did. Viewers can expect to see Lady Gaga sing the national anthem, and that should take place at about 11:30. Then there will be a virtual parade sometime in the mid-afternoon involving all the states and territories in a 90-minute primetime TV special tonight celebrating America, hosted by Tom Hanks. There'll be performances throughout the day, including Jennifer Lopez, Garth Brooks, Bruce Springsteen, the Foo Fighters, John Legend, John Bon Jovi, Justin Timberlake, and others. 12 National Guard members have been removed, but there's about 25,000, Dr. Chavis, National Guard members. But let's look at the preparation that the security, the Capitol Police, and the National Guard went through as they prepared for today. I think I'll. Okay, here we go. Yeah. So here's just some of what the preparation looks like. As you see the flag blowing over the Capitol. And so as you watch that, there is going to be at about noon, just before noon, Kamala Harris will be sworn in, and then at noon, Joe Biden will take the oath of office. I thought it was interesting that the vice president is sworn in first. Dr. Chavis, any historical context from you on why the vice president is sworn in first?
Well, I think that, the transition of power, and of course, this makes history. And I think in the order of the program, we never had a woman to be vice president of the United States of America. Isn't that something? In all these years, never before. And so, and she's a Black woman, and she's also a woman of East Indian descent. So I think that this is a time to make history, and it's appropriate for her to take the oath of office first. And again, Supreme Court Justice Sotomayor, the first Latino on the Supreme Court woman, will give her the oath of office. And then we will have the oath of office of President Joe Biden. And Supreme Court Justice, Chief Supreme Court Justice will administer the oath, Roberts will administer the oath to Joe Biden. So I think the order is appropriate, historic, and I'm so glad that President Obama will be there to witness it, as well as President Clinton. President Carter would have been there, but his health is ill. And so I think we're going to see the transition of power. And it's interesting that President Trump decided not to attend, but I think it doesn't hurt the Biden-Harris administration. I think it just further besmirches the absence of character of the former president. When you snub America, you snub yourself. And I think President Trump missed an opportunity to show that he's a man of character. You recall back in 2016 that President Barack Obama and First Lady of the United States, Michelle Obama, welcomed the Trumps to the White House. And of course, that tradition was broken this time. But I think, again, the news of the day is not what Trump did or did not do. The news of the day is that we have a new president, we have a new vice president, we have a new administration, and this new administration has indicated that it's going to keep their commitments to empower people of color African Americans in particular who voted so hard, who voted so well to make this transition possible. So this is the fulfillment of aspirations as we witness today. And we all should be encouraged by not only what we see and hear today, but what will be done.
Yeah, and you can't help but think that as we see Donald Trump exit Marine One over at Andrews Air Force Base, and his family's there waiting to send him off, can't help but to think, as peaceful as that scene right now looks, why did this president decide to make false claims and rile up a base that he knew would carry out an insurrection? Why didn't he just go peacefully? There was a lot of things lined up for Donald Trump post presidency. At least there was talk of him starting a TV network. There was talk of him starting his own form of Twitter. There was talk of him even running again for president. Now, if he's convicted in the Senate, he will never be able to hold public office again. He can't run again. His influence, his business dealings have been totally devastated by his actions. Hindsight is always 2020. Do you think?
Well, the Bible says you have to reap what you sow.
Yeah.
So look, and again, those of us in the Black press, what we're going to do is start focusing on the positive. We're worn out of the negative of Trump. So whatever, I've learned that you never pray harm for somebody. Exactly. I think God will take care of Donald Trump as God is taking care of all of us. Right. And at the end of the day, he's going to have to not only stand before the Senate, but he's going to stand before God. Exactly. We all reap what we sow. So yes. I think whatever Donald Trump has sown, that's what he will reap. But what we are working on now and should focus on now is the new Biden-Harris administration. And I just can't wait for our papers next week not to even have Trump's picture in it. That we're gonna have some new pictures. We're gonna have some diverse pictures. We're gonna have some pictures of color of people doing what they need to do to move forward and to celebrate the aspiration, fulfillment of freedom, justice, and equality for everybody. That's what I'm looking forward to. Lord knows we need some good news. I'm tired of the Trump bad news.
Yes, indeed. And I'm going to piggyback off of that. Yeah. I've often said here that I've lived long enough to just sit back and watch God do what he does. Because, a lot of people wanted Trump out of office, and I want this to happen. I want that. No one could have ever imagined that we would witness what we witnessed at the Capitol and all the things that have been happening with Trump, all the exposure of racism. Nobody could have ever imagined that. Nobody could ever imagine the COVID and shutting the world down. So it's just all coming together here. And we're just excited. Like you said, we're full of hope. We're going to report positive news, and we're going to definitely see a lot of change. Such a diverse group of people. And that's what that's what the world is about. So I'm looking forward to that. We're gonna keep reporting the truth, and we're just gonna move forward. We're gonna have a great day today.
Well, our chair, I don't know how much longer we have you for, but before, if you have to go, we have to let you know, have to let everybody know. Speaking of our papers, that let it be known next month, the West Side Gazette celebrates its 50th anniversary. Congratulations, awesome. Bobby Henry.
Congratulations, Bobby.
Yeah, what a milestone. When you think about that, and as you mentioned, Karen Carter Richards, that the Houston Four-Times, 61 years. When you think about that, and people might think, okay, that sounds like a lot, but we're talking about a Black-owned and operated newspaper. You can talk to us about the challenges, Madam Chair, about being a Black-owned and operated newspaper.
Wow. My father was a founder of the paper in January of 1960. Man, we've seen it all, through civil rights, through bombing of our newspaper, story my father published about the Houston Police Department back in '71, and unfortunately, no one was injured during the blast, but just all the stress from it. My father died 4 days later, so and then my mother took over the paper. She was here, and then my mother passed in 2010. I've just been able to witness the ups and downs in this business, the non-support from people, businesses that we support, and it's just keeping the doors open. Just the unfairness of and racism that we continue to deal with today in the Black press.
Yeah.
So, hey, but we're still here.
Well, you have a great legacy.
Thank you.
Karen Carter Richards and the Forward Times newspaper. It's an award-winning papers. We have our own merit awards, but the Forward Times has also won awards from NABJ, and you have a great team there. I know about all the great people. I see now Boney is broadcasting, podcasting, giving my best, and you just have a great team. Your daughter is not only a great performer, but she's there working. Your whole family's there working.
Right, thank God.
Business. You've got a family-owned business, and I think that's one of the characters states of the Black press is that we're family-owned businesses. And we take seriously the craft, the legacy, and I think the future of the Black press is bright. And one of the things we're going to be covering at our Midwinter Conference is how to make sure that we can get into this digital space, keep printing, but also get into this digital space so we can generate additional revenue, more revenue, to keep our papers alive as the transition takes place. I think it's very timely that we stay in tune for all those revenue streams that need to be generated to make our paper sustainable. But I just, again, Chair, I want to thank you. Can't thank you enough for your leadership. And of course, 2021, we're going to have our national convention this year, and we're going to just renew our faith, renew our hope, and keep moving forward.
Yes, awesome.
Yeah, 2021, it's scheduled for Dallas. We are hoping that there's a breakthrough in the coronavirus pandemic. Maybe we can all meet up again for the first time. It'll be 2 years, right? Because we didn't meet this past summer. We were supposed to be. Where was we supposed to be?
New Orleans.
New Orleans.
That's right. New Orleans, right?
And we had, thanks to you two, we had a fantastic convention planned, but we still were able to do something virtually that was really well received.
It was very great. We learned a lot, and our convention in 2020 was virtual. Our national leadership reception was virtual, and we reached over 100,000 people in both events digitally. So we're learning how to do virtual conferences. We have a virtual studio now, Madam Chair, at the Nnpa headquarters. So, we're moving forward. We're keeping our hands on the plow and not let anything or anybody deter us. But we have to learn. We have to keep up with the times. The name of your paper is Forward Times. We're trying to stay forward and trying to keep up with the times.
Right, and we definitely can. In the midwinter, we will learn and share with each other with the things we're doing. I'm also building a studio here, a whole production room with 3 different sets. So we have to just keep moving with the times and learn from each other.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And the Midwinter Conference that they speak of, for those who don't know, is actually next week, starting Tuesday, the 26th of January. So
27th through the 29th.
Oh, the 27th. Okay.
Starts Wednesday, yes. Mm-hmm.
Wednesday. So we're looking forward to that as we do every year. Last year, speaking of Bobby Henry, he hosted us last January, the last time we actually got together for a conference in Fort Lauderdale. And it was beautiful down in Fort Lauderdale. And we had such a great time there. Everybody's looking forward to, today, and everybody's looking forward to as Dr. Chambers just did a nice little illustration, the 4 times. We're looking forward to what's ahead. And maybe we have, the honor of having both the president and the chair. So perhaps you can whet our appetite specifically for the Black Press of America and what our Black America community, the readers, the supporters of the Black Press, what can we expect this year?
I'll
Well,
let Dr. Chavis take
yeah,
that because
thank you. Thank you. Well, what we can expect is that we are going to be following the Biden-Harris administration. I've already announced that we're going to have more engagement with the Department of Education, with the Department of Agriculture. We have a brother now who's going to be over the Department of Defense, first time in the history to have a black man as the Secretary of Defense of the United States. So there's so many firsts, and Congressman Fudge is going to be over the housing and urban development. So we got a lot of opportunities that we're going to follow up on. So you can look in 2021 for the Black press to be engaged. We're also going to be celebrating Black Press Month in March, and our convention will be in June, and our leadership reception will be in September. But between those events, and then we, Madam Chair, I'm pleased to announce that next month in February, we're going to have our first tech conference. We have a major sponsor, Hyundai, does put forth some resources so we can talk about technology, how technology intersects with the publishing world, and how we can take advantage of some of the new advances in technology to keep our Black press alive, to keep Black America informed, to keep Black America awakened, and to keep Black America engaged. We also are going to be doing, reaching out in 2021 globally. There's so much going on in the African diaspora. Chair, I just heard from Marco Garvey's son, Dr. Julius Garvey. They're going to have a bus in Ethiopia for Marcus Garvey at the African Union. So we're going to be there. And, you know, if we, depending on the virus, Chair, we may have to take a little trip to Africa.
all right, you know, that's what I've been waiting on.
2021. So there's all kind of things of promise. Let me say this, Stacey. If I had to characterize 2021, I would say this is the year of promise.
Yes.
This is the year of opportunity. This is the year of moving forward, to use that term again. And this is the year of us building on our legacies. I think we're so rich with legacies. You know, when we go into Black History Month in February, we could spend all 28 days just talking about the legacies of the Black press. We are rich, and our ancestors, our foreparents, have laid a great foundation for us to move forward on and not to stand still. So I'm optimistic. You can tell by my voice that I'm looking forward. And this day, and you know, in just a couple of hours, we're witnessing the transfer of power. Just think about it. After this day, it is President Joe Biden.
Right.
After this day, it is Vice President Kamala Harris, and an administration that is the most diverse in American history.
It certainly is. There was some comparisons that were attempted to be made with previous administrations, and nothing compares historically to the diversity of the Biden staff. And, you know, just briefly going back to the Black press, you talk about diversity. You mentioned, and it was highlighted in your interview with Joe Biden, you talk about diverse. The women of the Black press are the leaders in the various zones that we have, the various areas. And look, you mentioned too, in the same breath, how we have the Black press has done very well during the pandemic. Well, why is that? The women at the helm, right? Starting with our chair, Karen Carter Richards.
Of course. See?
Absolutely.
So there's diversity within us ourselves too. And it is good to see diversity. We know you mentioned the Department of Education, and we could talk about that for a moment, because Betsy DeVos, and you know, we call out Donald Trump, everyone calls out the president, and rightfully so. But you talk about a disaster, an unmitigated disaster. Education really took a major hit. And then you put the coronavirus pandemic on top of that, where many had to switch to all virtual learning. Dr. Chavis, Chair Karen Carter Richards, talk about the importance of a new education secretary.
Well, thank you very much. And, you know, it's a Latino brother who's the new Secretary of Education. I believe he comes out of Connecticut. His distinguished career in education. But I'm thankful, and I will announce, Chair Karen Carter Richards, that the Nnpa, our grant with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation on Education has been renewed for 2021. And we're going to be focusing on distance education. We're going to be focusing on virtual education and how to make sure that our young people receive the best education, the highest quality education, using new technologies. So even during the pandemic, we don't want to take our hands. But Stacey, you're right. The former Secretary of Education was not good. But we have an opportunity now to move forward. I'm always looking at how I see the glass always as half full. I never see the glass as half empty. And I think that as bad as things were over the last 4 years, we now have an opportunity, particularly in the education space, to encourage our young people. We have so many young geniuses, smart, young, gifted, and talented young people in our communities, in our families. But they need to get a good education.
Right.
And the Black press has always stood for quality education. We have a historic relationship with HBCUs, historically Black colleges and universities in many of our major cities. And the Black press has always been a champion of our HBCUs. So we're going to continue to do that also in 2021.
Well, and Chair Karen Carter Richards, what do you see as far as education? We're talking about the distant learning. I know you've done a lot of reporting. Your newspaper has done a lot of reporting on that subject. What stands out in Houston?
We definitely need to focus on the distant learning, all the situation where people in our community weren't able to have access to things that they should have had access to. I want to thank the Bill and Melinda Gates for renewing our grant, because there's much work to be done in our communities. And also I had made some notes while Dr. Chavis was talking, the town halls that we do. I think we have a great opportunity to hear from our community with the town halls that we do with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. But there's a lot. Like I said earlier, the cover has been pulled off. You see the inequities in our community, and Dr. Shaver said, we can only move forward from here, move up.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And so again, today there will be many virtual events throughout the day, and throughout the day right here, we will be here. We'll have many of our publishers on, including we're excited about having Danny Bakewell Sr. of the Los Angeles Sentinel and our chairman Emeritus on later today, as well as others. But today, President Joe Biden will be sworn in by Chief Justice John Roberts on the Capitol's West Front, and that will happen at about noon. Just before that, of course, Kamala Harris will be sworn in as the vice president. Lady Gaga is going to sing the national anthem. Jennifer Lopez is going to give a musical performance just before Biden is sworn in. And instead of the traditional parade before cheering spectators along Pennsylvania Avenue, the president and vice president will actually walk to the White House. There'll be an official escort. Of course, the Secret Service and the National Guard will escort them to the White House. So it's going to be, it is an exciting day, not going to be, right? It's an exciting day. Certainly, we've talked about Vice President Kamala Harris and how far she's come. I mean, she started, Dr. Chavis as a prosecutor in San Francisco and rose up to Attorney General before she gave a 2012 speech at the Democratic National Convention that really opened the eyes of people, not only around the country, but around the world. And it set the stage for her running successfully for the Senate out of California. And then, of course, now the Vice President of the United States. So lot to do today, a lot to talk about. As you said, and as you both agreed, talking about the former president is no longer relevant. It's what's happening today and going forward. So, as we move forward throughout this day, our chair, what message do you want to convey to our viewers, our readers, and our publishers?
Hey, let's sit back. Like I said earlier, stay focused. And we're just excited. I am so excited. We got our cover for this week that we featured Vice President Kamala Harris. I think I have a little. Can y'all see this?
Yes.
We're excited. So, hey, just let's get ready. Nnpa publishers, Black publishers across the world. We are excited. We're going to do some great things in 2021. So let's just buckle up and stay focused.
Yeah, and Dr. Chavis, I know you have been nonstop as usual. You've issued an alert for Black publishers, but you've also issued messages of confidence, messages of hope. What other message can you give today to our publishers, our viewers, and readers?
Well, I think for all of our member publishers and our executive committee, our board of directors, and on behalf of our chair, Karen Carter Richards, I first want to say to all of the readers of the Black Press, all of the listeners to our programs, we thank you for your support of the Black Press. This is the day that the Lord has made, and we have so much to celebrate. And we celebrate the Black Press. We celebrate President Joe Biden. We celebrate Vice President Kamala Harris. We celebrate the new cabinet. But we also celebrate what is going on in all of our communities and all of our families. For all those families that have lost loved ones, family members as a result of the coronavirus, our message is a message of healing. Our message is a message of empathy. Our message is a message that we care about you. We have to be our brother and our sisters keepers in this day and time. And I think that the Black Press, we have a way, and I'm glad that Karen Carter Richards held up that front page. If you look at the front pages of all of our newspapers across the country, not only this week, but every week, 52 weeks of the year, we are, in essence, are the voice, the strong voice of Black America. We're the voice of the Black community. We're the voice of the Black family. And we're the voice of educational things. So institutions like HBCUs. So we thank everybody for your support of the Black Press. We're going to continue today to broadcast throughout the day on this historic Inauguration Day as we continue to lift up the positive news of this day. What a day. What a day of transition. What a day of hope. What a day of aspiration. And what a day of future fulfillment. And so I hope our young people today, intergeneration, particularly our millennials, our Generation Z, we want to make sure that this year in 2021, we continue to reach out to our young people, our young journalists, our young publishers, our young writers, our young poets. We have such gifts and talent in the African American community. And we want you to know that the Black Press, our doors are going to stay open. Our press is going to continue to print. We're going to be in the digital space. We're going to stay in the print space. And we're going to be in the social media space. We're going to be in all media spaces on behalf of Black America. So our word today is one of gratitude, one of thanksgiving, but also one of reaffirmation of our purpose, reaffirmation of our mission, and reaffirmation that God is answering our prayers on this day.
Well, Dr. Chavis, one of our great Nnpa producers and news director, Norman Rich, says Dr. Chavis gets to speechifying. You got to listen.
Well, listen, I am a preacher. But I'm trying to articulate the words that not only are my personal words, but I learned a long time ago that when we speak, when we write, when we publish, it's just not for our personal views. Right. We are publishing and writing and expressing the views of our community, the views of our people, not only in America, but throughout the world. And we cannot allow white supremacy or racism or hatred or violence make us silent, make us fearful of speaking. We broke that fear 194 years ago with the first publication of Freedom's Journal, and we're going to continue to break those fears and break those chains as we move forward.
Well, and Dr. Chavis, you know, the Black press always is in a position where they have to overcome, and always do. We rise to the challenge. What do you attribute a lot of that resiliency to?
Well, I think it's what our chair, Karen Carter Richards, referred to. Listen, this is 2021, but we have inherited so much from our families, from our grandparents, from our great-great-grandparents, from our great-great-great-great-grandparents. The legacy is strong. And I you know, when people sometimes say, well, why do we do what we do? And why do we say it that way? Why do we dress the way? Why do we dance the way? You know, it's because we are a composite. You know, we are beneficiaries of the past. And I say often that resilience is in our DNA. That's who we are.
Yeah.
You know, we're not going to let nobody keep us down. We may get knocked down, but we're going to get back up, you know. And that's the travail, that is the long struggle, and that is the progress of Black people, not only in America, but throughout the world. If you look at Africa, it's changing. It's not what it was 20 or 30 years ago. It's getting better. Yes, there's still problems, but it's getting better. Our communities, there's still some serious problems, you know, with homelessness, with the absence of health care. Education is not what it should be in many of our communities. We don't have the wealth. We don't have wealth building like we need to rebuild a lot of the Black-owned businesses. Tragically, 50% of all Black-owned businesses in this pandemic went out of business. 50%. You know, so we can't take lightly where we are. But we also have a tradition. We have a history to build upon. We're not without guidance. We're not without leadership. We're not without understanding what we need to do. It's just a matter of us working together, having greater unity, helping one another along, and then we should share. I think we should write more books. Carter Richards, one of the things I'm going to say to the publishers, I hope that every publication will have a book, a historical book on all of our newspapers. Those books need to be in our library. You know, we need to know about the progenitors of the Black press more. Because in our archives, in our records, is invaluable history. And sometimes other people know our value more than we know our own value. So this is the time for us to reassert not only who we are, but where we are and where we're going.
Yeah, and Bobby Henry says we write our own narrative, and that's why we do what we do. And Stephanie Till says, being an advocate for genealogy, we must encourage our families to keep our lineage and write it down for future generations. You know, among we can't agree more, Steph. Among the many who watch us every day, and we're so grateful that we do have very loyal, you know, the Black press is amazing because we have loyal readers of the Black press, loyal viewers of our programs. And one of those loyal viewers is a young man named David Youngblood. And we are welcoming David Youngblood right now as he joins us. David, it's after you take yourself off mute, David, I want you to greet our chair, Karen Carter Richards, and our president, Dr. Ben Chavis.
Indeed, I am pleased to be here. In fact, I'm honored to be here. Thank you for sharing the time.
Well, David, you often you pose a lot of questions, a lot of very thoughtful questions when we have lawmakers on and when we may have a celebrity on. You pose some of the more interesting questions. Now, we're talking today, of course, about the inauguration. And David, one of the things you posed was a Department of Treasury or something along that lines, something in the Department of Treasury. Can you talk a little bit about that proposal as it pertains to America?
Sure. You know, the Black Economic Alliance just printed a study that said, and I think they were referring to a GAO study in 2017 that said there was $70 trillion being managed, and less than 1% is managed by Black asset managers, private equity, wealth funds, investment bankers, that sort of thing. And I thought that was outrageous, actually, If we're 13% of the population, it seems to me that 13% of $70 trillion could answer a lot of questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Dr. Chavis, you want to weigh in on that?
Yeah, well, thank you, David. Yes, well, economic equity, economic empowerment. You know, all of our member newspapers, we have Black-owned businesses. And so and we should all be working toward wealth building in the Black community. We spend, David, over $1 trillion in the economy, Black people. But yet the return on that spending, return on that investment has been very lacking. So we're hoping that the new Biden-Harris administration, and that's why we're here today to celebrate the inauguration of President Joe Biden and the inauguration of Vice President Harris. But you've raised an issue of the economy, the Black economy, Black-owned businesses, wealth building, and investment portfolios, the trillions of dollars that are not managed, that should be managed by Black investment managers. Also, Black banks. I'm pleased that the Black-owned bank here in Washington, Industrial Bank, is now expanding. We now have an industrial bank in New York, and they have a partnership with Citibank. I think in the area of, David, of economics, you're going to see more collaborations. You're going to see more acquisitions and groups coming together, forming conglomerates. The problem is we have to make sure that African-American owned banks, African-American owned investment firms are given the opportunity to participate in the new collaborations of the past. I think the economy is going to rebound. We are also in a very serious economic turndown over the last 4 years. Even though the stock market went up, the value of property, the value of wealth in our communities went down. So the Biden-Harris administration is going to have a challenge. But I think they're up to the charge, and we're going to continue to work with them. I'm glad, David, you mentioned that in the Department of Commerce, in the SBA, in the minority development programs, economic development programs of the SBA. We have to pay attention to those, and we have to stay engaged.
Let me agree with you on that. And recently, I offered, and it wasn't my idea, the idea of a African American Secretary of the Treasury. If you have a Secretary of the Treasury who's in charge of the money and is African American, I think we'd get a better shot. That didn't happen. Okay, President-elect Biden has said he will focus like a laser beam on the African American community, and I think that is a good thing. I hope he, in fact, does that.
Oh, absolutely. And we have people there that will help him do that. Again, Cedric Richmond is a senior advisor to the president.
And Dr. Chavis.
Yes, absolutely. We're gonna make sure that one of the things I've said in another broadcast was that one thing that I've known President Biden for many years, many decades, and one thing you can take to the bank, he's a man of his word. Exactly. If he gives you his word, he's going to fulfill his word. And I think you're going to see a different kind of character in the White House, who not only just mouths off verbiage, but who practices what they preach and keeps their commitments. Right. And I think that in the economic sphere that you highlighted, David, you're going to see not only the Department of Commerce and the Department of Treasury, as you've noted, be engaged, but the interests of Black America, the interests of Latinos, the interests of other people of color are going to be much better served in this administration than the previous past administration.
Yeah, and David, why don't you tell us just a little briefly about yourself, what you do, and where you're from? After you come off mute, David.
Yeah, mute and bring the camera back. Look, I am from Texas, from Houston, Texas. I grew up in Houston and Dallas, went to University of Houston, graduated from HBCU Law School, Texas Southern, Thurgood Marshall School of Law. Had an opportunity early in my career to work on Capitol Hill for a member from California. Went back to Texas, practiced law for about 10 or 11 years. And about 14 years ago, returned to DC as general counsel to a small or boutique lobbying shop here in the district.
Great. That's great, man. We're glad to have you here in DC, and I know Karen Carter Richards is in Houston, and so these brothers and sisters from Houston are making a difference, Karen.
Right. I know the name. I know the name.
Well, David, we certainly appreciate you joining us this morning. We'll give you one more question if you have another question before we let you go. After you come off mute, David.
Right. That's always important. My question is to Dr. Chavis.
Yes.
Dr. Chavis has been in the game, the struggle, for a long time.
Yes.
After all these years, John Lewis was quoted as saying, yeah, it's bad right now, but it's not as bad as it used to be. I'd like for you to comment on Ben Chavis, the 15-year-old, and the span or sweep of his life.
No,
Well,
right.
thank you, David. And I was very pleased. Not only one of the reasons why I was working for Martin Luther King Jr. by the time I was 15, it's because of what I started doing when I was 11. I'm so thankful to Mr. Austin in Durham, North Carolina, who was the publisher of the Carolina Times newspaper, allowed me to start writing for the Black press when I was 11 years old in the 6th grade. I loved to write. I was writing small articles about civil rights when I was 11 years old. And so the reason why I mentioned that, David, is because as I look back, and it's something also that James Baldwin told me, he said that the pen is mightier than the sword.
Exactly.
And that what we write has a sense of responsibility, not only to document what is going on with our people, but we also should write in a way that gives our people hope. It gives our people a sense of not being hopeless, not being satisfied with the way things are. But we also have to write, as Freddie Douglass would say, to agitate, to stir up, to inspire, to motivate our people to move forward. And so I would say, in short, David, what John Lewis said is true. You know, these are hard times that we have right now in 2021, but we've had hard times before. And what the message is, whenever we have hard times, we find a way how to endure, not necessarily accept difficulties, but to endure them and to gain strength from them. We are people of endurance. We are people of strength building. When the forces of oppression are arrayed around us, we get stronger. We don't get weaker. And we pass that strength on to the next generation. And so I'm not only grateful and thankful for the last 50, 60, I'm 73 years old right now. As I look back, I am thankful for our struggle. I'm thankful for the Black press. And I'm thankful for the future that this day now provides. We have so many opportunities, David and Karen and Stacy, than ever before. But we have to take advantage of these opportunities and not let anybody make us feel that we are less than our worth, that we are less than what our families and foreparents have worked so hard to provide. So we have to make sure now that we leave a legacy for the next generation, to keep on keeping on, and to make more progress for universal freedom, justice, and equality for all of God's people. But if you don't look after your own people, it's hard to look after other people. So we have to address what it means to be in love with Black people, what it means to be in love with our institutions, in love with our families, in love with our communities. We have to love each other. But in our love, we have to also demand justice. We have to also demand equality. And we have to prepare ourselves to empower one another so that the next generation coming can benefit from our contributions in our daily struggles.
Well, David.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome. God bless.
Thank you, David. Thanks for joining us. We'll do it again, David.
Indeed, anytime.
All right. So we've heard from people on the street. We've heard from people right here. Attorney David Youngblood. Chair Karen Carter Richards, when you see such loyal viewers, loyal readers, loyal people to the Black press, it must stir your heart.
Definitely. I'm always in awe of people that understand the Black press and who appreciate the Black press. I went down the street to a post office where one of our vending racks are, and I got out to go check our P.O. box, and there was a gentleman standing outside his car reading our paper, and he was just whatever he was reading, it had his attention. He didn't even get in his car. And so I ran in and got the mail and came back out, and he was still there. And I was like, yes. so it's very endearing to us, because we put a lot of heart, compassion into what we write to get the information out to the community. And so it's a wonderful feeling that people still appreciate the Black press.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's no small part to the work you guys do as our chair, as our president. And you know, Karen, we see Dr. Chavis around the country all the time, pandemic or not, around the globe. Dr. Chavis has not stopped going, and it's all in the name of the Black press. So that's a tough, you know, Dr. Chavis leaves a tough act to follow all the time. So his dedication is certainly unsurpassed, if not unmatched, and we appreciate that, Dr. Chavis.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. You know, working with Karen Carter Richards and my board of directors, and working with you, Stacey, and our staff, and Claudette, Norman, you know, Okina, Tracy, Julie, Ron Burke. We got a great team. Derek Woods. We got a great team that we work toward, and we expanded the team. And Chanta, Jackson, Carrington, York. We got some good people. Madam Chair, I'm glad to please to let you know that Mark Thompson is going to be joining our team. Distinguished broadcaster is going to be helping us with our social media on a full-time basis. So we're expanding the Black press team, but I get my inspiration from my member publishers. I get my inspiration from, of course, my own family, tradition, the history, and from working with you, Stacey. I mean, to do this every day, to get up early every morning, again, podcasting 7:30 a.m. every morning, that keeps my adrenaline going.
Right.
So thank you for the opportunity to serve.
Well, and notice Chair Karen Carter Richards, when he was naming the team, all the women again, he named Tracy and Okina and Claudette, and then, you know, and also look, like you said, you have Carrington York, who's an HBC person, right? She's a Howard University student, and she's doing a fantastic job with the Newswire and Black Press USA. And of course, we have Enchanta Jackson as a great producer in the morning. So we've been fortunate, and of course, the women have taken the lead again.
Well, that's a good thing.
We make Dr. Chavis look good.
That's right. Absolutely.
Well, you know, it's interesting because, again, we talked about the diversity of Joe Biden's staff, and I keep pointing out the diversity here in the Black press. So it goes hand in hand. So maybe this administration will work extremely well with the Black press.
Well, I think they will, no question about it. And in the segments later, I want you to repeat that video from Kamala Harris' message to the Black press. I think that was so poignant and so on point this day of the inauguration. So maybe after Danny Bakewell comes on, we can rebroadcast that interview with Kamala Harris, because her message was right on point.
Yeah, absolutely. And we also will show some more throughout the day of your interview with President Joe Biden. We also have some more man on the street from the Washington Informer that we're going to show. So we got a lot in store. Make no mistake about it. We're not just here just to talk with each other. We're here to talk to Black America and show them a lot that we have in store. We're going to show them the inauguration, of course. We're going to go live to Washington. We actually have a couple of people there from the Black press that will be at the U.S. Capitol. They have credentials. They'll be there. So it's going to be, expect a lot from us today.
Right. I want to thank the inaugural committee. You know, the inaugural committee is co-chaired by Jim Clyburn and Cedric Richmond and many others. The president of Delaware State is the executive director of, which is the HBCU of the inaugural. And they are giving us the live feed, Madam Chair. So we will get the official video feed of the actual swearing in ceremonies live here on the Black Press of America.
Awesome.
Yeah, and everything begins really at about 11:30. We'll probably start switching over to that feed and bringing it in, and Dr. Chavis and I will discuss the proceedings, and then we'll let all of Black America listen in live to the broadcast from the Capitol, listening to the swearing in and some of the other things that they got going on there.
Right. And I just want to give a shout out to our national digital director, Norman Rich. You know, he had a battle. It was in the hospital last week at this time. And so we're thankful that God answered our prayers. He's back on the job.
Awesome.
You know, and he's going to be with us for about 4 hours today. I said, man, are you up for this? And he said, oh, yes, absolutely. So, you know, again, God answers prayers. You know, we prayed for him. He came out of the hospital. In this day and time, you just don't walk out of the ICU. But he walked out. He walked out of the ICU, and we're very grateful to have him back as our national digital director.
He walked out of the ICU because he realized that he has years more of giving us grief. So,
oh no, he's you know, he's an expert. That's a friendly inside joke within the
right, exactly.
But stay tuned. Let it be known. Stay tuned because again, we have so much in store. As mentioned, again, we're excited. We're certainly excited to have our chair. Always excited to see our chair. It's such a wonderful. You got, you know, those who don't know our chair personally, it's really, you know, one of those things where you meet a person and you realize what a privilege it is, and how, you know, how you would be a little less satisfied if you didn't meet a person like Karen Carter Richards. So what a wonderful person. And then she really showed us a good time. A few years ago, we had our convention in Houston, and what a beautiful city. She really showed what Houstonians can do as far as hospitality is concerned. We had a great time, Dr. Chavis, in Houston.
Absolutely. It was one of our best conventions. And of course, you know, we're looking forward to it. This has been another great year of the Black Press under the leadership of Karen Carter Richards.
Thank you, Dr. Chavis. Thank you, Stacey.
Absolutely. And you know, Karen, we are looking forward to, you know, as much as we look forward to Forward Times, we're looking forward to what Jeffrey Boney is going to write about this inauguration. Jeff has some great insight. What a team you've assembled down there. Of course, you got your family, your daughters and your family there. But you've assembled a great team with Jeff and others. We always look forward to it. We just saw, you showed us the front page that we can expect. I recall, was it during the hurricane, the front page of the Houston Forward Times a couple of years ago, you talk about winning awards. I thought that deserved 2 Pulitzers, because that photo and that coverage, and if I remember correct, Karen Carter Richards, and maybe you can recap that a little bit. You guys were all displaced when that happened.
Definitely, yeah. We were all. Everybody was everywhere. We had to try to come in, we were able to get to the office. So we were, some were working from home, but we managed to get in. Fortunately, we didn't get any water in our building. And so we were able to come to work and get the paper out and have our photographers over the city shooting. But yes, we do have a great team. Jeffrey Boney has started his show, The Real Talk Junkies, and he'll be covering the inauguration and interviewing some people here in Houston as well today. And so we're looking forward to that at noon Central Time.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. We're looking forward to it. If anybody hasn't seen the Forward Times, go to their website. If you're in Houston, pick up the paper because you're missing out. You really are if you don't read the Houston Forward Times.
Thank you, Stacey.
Oh, absolutely. And thank you. Before we break, because we're going to take a break, and then we're going to get right back at it at 9:30. But I want to give you your last words before we break, Chair Karen Carter Richards.
Well, I've been enjoyed this morning with you guys, but I just want to ask our readers and our staff to just let's cover this administration in prayer, lift them up today, that they will be safe from all harm, and that's my last parting words. Just let's cover them and lift them in prayer today.
And Dr. Chavis, for this half hour before we break, your last words in this half hour.
Well, thank you. We're all again excited about the inauguration day today. We reaffirm the purpose and the mission of the Black Press of America. We're thankful for the 194 years of the Black Press, as we are geared up to be engaged now with President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. We have more than reason to know that this is going to be a good year for the Black press as we work with the new administration. And I believe that I would like to close out on this note. There's so many opportunities in our community. And I want all of our listeners, all of our viewers to know that better days are yet ahead. But these days that are ahead are going to require us to be engaged, are going to require us to be active, are going to require us to be faithful, are going to require us to be hopeful, and it's going to require us to be discerning of how we can help each other. I think one of the things we have to work on, Stacey and Karen, is that how we share our learnings with others.
Right.
The things that we know that benefit life, improve life, we need to share with others in our communities, in our workplaces, and even in our place of how we have social intermixing with one another. We're now in a virtual world, so there's a lot being done now virtually. And so we're going to improve our capacity to give broadcast quality productions. And not only that, Midwinter Conference coming up, our Black Press Week coming up, our convention coming up, and our leadership reception, and our tech conference coming up in February. But I just want to say that, you know, we are in a posture now where we have a great opportunity to discern what it is that all of us need to do to improve our quality of life. So I'm hopeful, I'm excited, and we are regenerated with a spirit, first the spirit of the Lord and the spirit of our ancestors, beckoning all of us to stand up and to speak out and to continue to speak truth to power, to publish truth to power, and to distribute that truth to the masses of our people consistently.
Well, thanks for that, Dr. Chavis, and thank you all. We're going to take a short break, but thanks to David Youngblood for joining us. We really appreciated your thoughts and insight. Of course, thanks to our wonderful chair, Karen Carter Richards. Let it be known, tough times never last, but tough people do. We will see you very shortly.